digital finance and accounting workshop that is part of our partnership between Petra Christian University and also LSAF Indonesia. Okay, so on this second session, we have invited another speaker that will be filling up for today's materials, which is Mr. Mites Khatira. Mr. Mites Khatira have been working as the director and especially working in business advisory, forensic accounting, fraud prevention, GCC Fed Consulting of APMH Morris Rowland Advisory Private Limited. He has been working with many different countries. He is a chartered accountant that has a global experience working in UAE, Bahrain, Malaysia, China, Thailand, and also Indonesia. Right. So I want to invite Mr. Mites for today's webinar. Good morning, good afternoon, Mr. Mites. Nice to meet you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be there, Mr. Alan, on this session today with all the students. I would like to also congratulate all the students for taking up this amazing course on data analytics, one of the most sought after topics across the globe that we are seeing now. And also want to congratulate the university that they have taken up this amazing program for the students and are giving the students the latest knowledge and guidance about the changing scenario in accounting and finance, which is data analytics. I would also like to welcome Adarsh Madrecha. He's also a chartered accountant and my colleague from India, who has been doing extensive work in data analytics and also into various different applications like Microsoft Excel, Power Query, Power BI, Python, and so on. He's an ex-EY, so he was part of the EY team in technology for a long time. And then he started his own consulting and is part of the training team today. So welcome, Adarsh. And we can start the session directly instead of spending much time on the introduction about the data analytics immediately. So the topic today is split into three parts. The first part is focused towards looking at Excel, which is on everyone's desktop and is kind of there since long time, and has been the all-time favorite of the finance world. And the finance professionals cannot even think of existing without Excel. So we will try to give you certain things and ideas on what all the Excel can do for us on the data analytics side, on the charts, on the graphs, on the possible analytic features of Excel, and some tool tips and some ideas on Excel. This will be a theoretical come practical topic. So we will try to give you a lot of case studies. We will tell you a story of how the charts can present the data and what difference a proper presentation chart can make versus a normal chart. So we will talk about the charts and the possible ways of presenting the charts to make stories out of charts or tell stories to the managements out of the charts. And also we will cover Power BI, a practical case study of a company on how the Power BI can help the company do the analysis, what can be a CFO dashboard look like, what can be a CEO dashboard look like, and so on the Power BI. Again, a practical walkthrough on the Power BI. And of course, we are also going to talk on the big data and the possibility of Python, where the finance professionals with no coding experience can master the Python and do basic Python coding for generating the data analytics, which is useful on large data sets and complex data structures and do the calculations on fly before making presentations to the management. So this is going to be very, very practical from our practical experience of doing various projects on data analytics. It is nothing to do with what you call coding, nothing to do with softwares, nothing to do with recommendation that this is the best software that one should buy. It is more focused towards actually telling you what data analytics possibilities are. Of course, we will not be able to give you a lot of time to do practical uh, trials for yourself because 3 hours is not adequate for doing that. But we will give you a lot of practical walkthroughs, and we will also pass on the notes after that so that you can use them for trials on your own. This is just a quick brief of the session today. With this, I would like to invite others to put up his presentation, and then we can start with the Excel as the first discussion point. Others, can you put up the presentation?
Yes, I'm sharing my screen. Is the audio clear?
Yeah, it is clear.
Oh, perfect. Thanks.
Before that, if anyone, if we can set the expectations, others, for 1 minute with everyone to find out what they want to make out of this session in one line. Yes, guys, come on. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, yes.
Guys, do you want to tell what you want to make out of this session in one line before others start, so that we can take care of your expectations?
Yes.
Okay, no one? Yeah, okay, others, I think you should start. You can feel free to write it on the chat box or ask us any questions that you feel during the session. We will try to cover it as and when we feel this is a relevant time to cover the discussion. Yeah, that's continue.
Yes. Hello, very good afternoon to one and everyone. Welcome to the session. And please go on posting your questions in the chat section. I will, on a regular basis, I'll be having a look at the chat section and then picking up these questions. And don't keep all these questions for the very last, because then after end of this three-hour session, you might forget what you had the query in mind. So let's begin. It's a lot of content today to cover and a lot of practical uh, demonstrations as well. So let's get started. So with a small introduction on Excel. So currently we are on the this generation of Excel, which started back in 2017, and Microsoft has been giving us the updates on a 3-yearly basis. So here we have 2017, 10, 13, 16, and 19 versions. And in every these versions, there are many new features that we see implemented in Excel. So in today's program, I have the latest version of Excel, and I also would like to highlight that since here you can see this is 3-yearly cycle. So Microsoft thought that instead of a 3-yearly cycle, we could push the updates or bring new features on much faster level. And for that, we have Office 365, which is a MS Office itself, but here it is provided as a software as a service. So here you get updates on a monthly basis. So I will be using a latest version of Office 365, and in most likely scenario, you would if you are using anything installed after say 2020, so you will most likely have all the features that we'll be discussing today. And during this session, if there are new features which are launched very recently, I will mention them up as well. So in order to set up your system, what I generally recommend is having Office 365 license, which gives you access to the latest cutting edge features of all the MS Excel amazing features that we have been receiving from Microsoft, as well as two extra add-ons optionally in order to simplify your day-to-day activities that we do in Excel. So one that I love the most is the ASAP utilities, which is available for free, and another one which is a great utility is AbleBits. So you can check them out as well. And I'll be today be covering the ASAP utilities few things. So in Excel, there are quite a few Excel files which are Excel extensions which are common. So these are the four ones you will most likely come across. If you create any new Excel file, if you don't know anything about the Excel file format or any extensions, so then you will first most likely be creating an XLSX file, which is you can say the newer Excel format. The old Excel format was XLSS. So you might come across this old format still now, because the person may be using the older version of Excel, or they had created an Excel in the older version and they are still updating the same in that older version. So that is something to be mindful about. But I would definitely recommend that as of now, if you get across XLSX, simply save the file as XLSX to enjoy new features, as well as it is less prone to corruption or all other nasty office bugs which we used to encounter way back in 2007, 10, or before that. So just use the new version and you will be fine with that. Since this introduction of new version, we have a separate extension itself to handle the macros files, which is called as XLSM file now. So if you have any macros or user defined functions in Excel, and if you save that file in XLSX, it will automatically delete or strip away all your uh, macros and user defined functions. It will not save it, and that is due to the security reasons. So if you download any file from internet and if it is XLSX, you have more confidence on the security angle, because XLSX files will not contain any macros or which could trigger some code execution or contain some virus. So XLSM is a separate file format for storing those extra information. Then we have XLSB. This is the file format which you may not have heard of. And when we talk about working with a larger data set in Excel, we will be talking about XLSB file as well. So let's start with a few handy tips and let's get us hand dirty in Excel. So many times we have this kind of data which may be extracted from ERP system, or someone else have shared this data with you. Maybe they have created a pivot table and copy pasted just the values and shared the data with you. So in this case, what we need to do is just bring the category or that numbering system down, and we want this information to flow like this. So let's see how we'll be able to do that in Excel and other Excel tips. So let me just quickly move to the Excel. Just a second. Let me get that screen.
Mr. Allen, can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Manis.
Mr. Alan, is it okay if we request the students to on their video so we know that they are paying attention? You know, in the last session, everybody was with their video on, interacting,
Yes.
asking questions. Yeah, so I think let's do the same for today's session because it's such an important
That is
session.
very important. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I would request all the students, yeah, again to turn on your video, okay, and you are encouraged to ask questions, as what Mr. Mitas and Mr. Adrash mentioned before. If you do have any question, feel free to put it in the chat box. You no need to wait up until the end. Anytime you have questions, just post it in the chat. Okay.
Yes. And also you can start your Excel file and try to create such an example so that you can understand what analytics means in Excel and how you can use Excel to make and write completing queries.
Yeah. So we are, yeah, I hope this Excel file is visible to everyone.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's see how we can get this filled up in the down. So here what we'll be using is find and select on the right hand side, and then be clicking on go to special, and in the go to special we'll be selecting the blanks. Once the blanks are selected, we'll be using the formulas on the up arrow key, and here you can see that when we selected blanks, all the cells which did not have any data got selected. So whatever information of that I'm going to fill in will be filled in all these cells. And in order for that to work, instead of pressing enter, I need to press control enter, and here you can see all these values are filled in. So how it basically works, let me just give a little bit of recap. If I have multiple cells selected like this, and if I want to enter the information here, I can say hello, and if I just press enter, here you can see it will just toggle between the selected cells. But instead of pressing enter, if I press control enter, it will fill in the information in all the cells which are selected. So this is how this formula this trick works.
Here I
Where
would
we
want to tell that the first level of data analytics is to try and clean the data which is available with you. First of all, to try and bring it in the format in which the analysis can be done. So in that step of analysis where we want to clean up the data, this is one of very, very important aspects where the data is not categorized properly or is categorized in the way the reports is presented and you want it in a different way and so on. So I think this is a very small thing, but very, very important for cleaning up and making the data fit for analysis.
Yes, very true. So here we'll be covering some of these use cases which you will be coming across when you start working with Excel extensively, and these will hopefully help you in quickly figuring out the best possible way when the problem is presented to you.
Yeah, and one can be very, very creative about doing it. So it is not necessary that one can do in the same way. He can use different ways to do the same thing, solve the same problem, whichever he finds or she finds more convenient or more comfortable to use.
True. So your next trick that I would like to show is that say suppose if you have some information which is you have received the data in these different sheets that you have just copy pasted, and now you want to create a summary uh, from these sheets. So here I have east, middle, west, south and west zone, all these data, and what I would like to create is a summary like this, where I would say that total couches that were sold in during this period across east, midwest, south and west region. So one way that you might think to do this is you would just copy paste the uh, summary here somewhere, and then start deleting some data here. and then you would start creating a formula. So say sum east, here you will click here, comma, middle east, click here, comma, south this, comma, west. So of course, this would work, and if you would copy paste the formulas, still you'll be able to create this summary sheet. This is one way of doing it. Let me show you a better one, or at least this will be faster and more accurate. So what we can do is, first of all, in order to keep this structure exactly same, instead of copy pasting the data, you just clone the sheets. In order to clone the sheet, one method is right click, move and copy, move to end, and create a copy. But here we even have a better one. Just hold down your control and drag and drop the sheet. This will create a copy the sheet. Then let's rename it as summary, delete the data, and let's create the formula even better. So I would say sum. I will go to the east, click here, and when I'm holding it, the shift key, I'll click on west, close the formula, click enter. Here you can see that I in the summary, see the formula that is created. So here says that start with the east sheet and go to the west sheet and sum all the formulas in B4. The benefit of this approach is that I will never miss out any sheet. So in this example, we only have 4 sheets, but imagine a scenario where you have maybe 12 sheets for each month, or if you have 20 departments and you have 20 sheets here. So in that case, using a formula where you will have to go to each and every sheet and select that cell in each and every sheet is very error prone. You might forget to select one sheet, and this entire data accuracy would be gone for a toss. So whenever we are choosing any method to achieve something in Excel, first of all, most important is that how it is accurate and more reliable. Is there any so you should always ask yourself, is there any better way to achieve something in Excel which is more reliable and less error prone, in order to improve the data accuracy, because that's the most important aspect of any analytics, to have the most accurate data. So that's a small tip where you can just reference all the sheets in one single formula. Moving on to some other tips. Yeah. So imagine that someone has shared this Excel file with you, and now you have to figure out heads and tails of this. Or maybe you have joined a company, your new company, you are joining as a first day in a company, and your previous team member has worked on this Excel file. And after opening this file, you cannot make any heads or tails out of this, like what is exactly going on. So much of data scattered here and there. There's no perfect formatting to this file, and what exactly is going are the formulas, where are the numbers being entered, which are the derived formulas, which are the numbers which impact the other numbers, make the head and tails of this file, right? So in order to do that, let's see how Excel some of the features can help us. We will go to find and select and go to special, and here we will first of all go and click on the formulas, and we click just OK. So this will select all the formulas in our Excel sheet. So here you can see all these are selected. Now my first recommendation is to just color them in a slight maybe a blue tone. Okay. So here all the formulas are now colored with a blue tone. Next, what we'll do is we'll go to find and select, go to special and click blanks. We'll click on constants. So this is a little known feature of Excel, where you might think that in the go to special, whenever you click on formulas, these are the options we get. Uh, but this options also works for constants as well. So you can click on constants, and here you can see that all these options are still selectable. So I will just remove errors, logicals and text, and I will say constant numbers. I'll click on OK, and all these numbers are selected now, and give it a maybe a shade of orange. So here you can see that this looks a little bit more understandable to feel that, okay, all these orange tints are basically the numbers which have been entered, and all the blue tinted cells are the cells which are derived because there is a formula inside them. Next, what we would like to know is which is the cells which are impacting another cells. So just to get an overview, what we could do is click on formulas, and we will say trace precedents. Of course, we'll have to select the cell where we want to trace the precedents. So here you can see that this number is coming from these two cells, and we can go on clicking these trace precedent again and again. So here, after clicking multiple times, what I can see is that, okay, in order to derive this, this is how the data flow looks like. So it is flowing from this 14065 here, which is coming to this cell, and which is then going here. From this, it is going it here, and this is how this entire calculation flow looks like. Another one would be that to trace the dependents. So quickly remove the
Mr.
arrows.
Adarsh,
Yes.
these files, is it possible if we share it to the students so they can try it also on their end?
Yes, sure.
So maybe if you can send the files to Mr. Mitesh or Ms. Tias is present in the group. So Ms. Tias, if you can put up your email address, then you can share. You can put this up in the students' Google Classroom.
Yes, it will be very useful if they can try it out and
Sure.
they can work on it. Actually,
Right,
Yes.
right. Let's do that. Thank you, Mr. Adarsh.
Yes, I have just sent the files.
you have sent it to me.
Yes, I've just sent it on email.
Okay, I will send it to Manish. Manish, I will send it to you.
And in these sheets, there are many like different formulas. You can definitely have a look at all of them, and you will be able to understand that in each of these what we are exactly trying to do. So at your own leisure, also you can have a look at all these exercise files.
Manish, I have sent it to you.
So
Okay,
continuing.
thank you.
We will have to continue because we have little time. We are covering Python, Power BI, so we need to be a bit fast.
So here, what we could do as a next step is to understand that how is the numbers will be impacting the another numbers. So here I can see that there are two numbers which have been highlighted by the previous person who was working on this file. So maybe I'll click on this 65 and start clicking on trace dependents. So here you can see that this 65, if I change, will have an impact on these all numbers. And this is how this data flow is happening, and which will ultimately impact this final number 57. And so this is how you could use Excel to quickly understand what the previous team member has worked upon and how this data flow works.
Yes, and this can be used in various scenarios. Apart from actually working on Excel for your own data analytics, to trying and doing an audit of a file which is having a lot of numbers, and you want to find out whether the flow has gone correctly or randomly. Sometimes you see that in the in the links that are happening and the connects that are shown in the file, and find out that yes, certain links are going haywire and things are going in a wrong direction. Or you can also find out where from these data cells are getting connected and what are these data cells impacting. So it can give a lot of view when you are doing audits. Even in case of forensic, this is very, very relevant. Many times you don't come to know how the particular Excel sheet is made up and what are the precedents and antecedents or dependents on basis of which these numbers are flowing. So this kind of a nice graphical representation of the data flow can give you a lot of direction. Others, you can continue.
Yeah. Next, what we sometimes get is this kind of just I'm just trying to zoom in a little bit, or is it clearly visible? This eh, uh,
Yeah, the file is visible.
visible clearly, right? Yeah. So I guess no need for zoom in. But so what I would like to say is that sometimes cells, and these cells you would not know that why is it referencing this R9. And if you just go on this if statement, it is doing checking if the value is false, then what should happen. And if there too much of nesting of all these formulas, how do I make sure that what is being printed out, why is it this formula returning 1 instead of maybe too big or something like that. So in order to check this formula and to make a sense of it, what we could do is click on any of these expressions. So maybe if I want to check that this if, what is it doing, so I can click on this logical test and just press F9. F9. Yeah. So here, when I pressed F9, it solved the formula for me right here itself and resulted into false. While using this formula auditing, you always escape it by clicking on the escape key. Otherwise, the audited formula will get saved here. So always use escape while using F9 formula auditing. Here, if you want to see that if the value is true, you can just quickly click on these numbers and see here. If I go to further if and see what is this logical test answer is, so I can quickly click on F9 and here you can see it is still giving me false. And if I want further, I can go here and I can quickly go and say F9, it's still giving false. And finally, if I can go here and click on F9, okay, this is true, and hence this 1 is coming. So this is how I will be making a sense of this long formula. Then I will go and just quickly check what is the result of R9 and here 5, and since it is less than 24 and hence it's 1. So this is how it would work. So you don't have to understand the entire big formula and make sense of it. You could quickly do formula auditing just by pressing F9. Moving ahead, here here I have a small demonstration here as well. Yeah. So here you can see this works with any formula, any criteria that you would like to quickly check what it is resulting into. Moving on to working with dates. So working with dates has its own set of quirks. If you have already worked with Excel, or if you have seen anyone working with Excel, they would definitely tell you that working with dates has a little bit of challenge in Excel. So let's see why this is a challenge. Because in Excel, we don't have any number format or data type which is called as date. In Excel, everything is either number or it is a text. So date is also a number. And so basically, whenever you are entering a date into Excel, you are basically entering a number into the Excel, and in the behind the scene, it is just stored as a number itself. It is just formatted for our own eyes to be viewed as a date. Of course, we'll be taking an example now. So true or false is also a number, where true being 1 and false being 0. And all the numbers are of course numbers. All the decimals are also classified as number itself. And the text that we enter, a string, that's simple text. So let's see, move to Excel.
Others, can you navigate them which file we are using for that? Have you already uploaded, Mr. Kyas, on the students library, this file?
Miss Tia, have you done that?
Hello.
Yes, the file number 16 is
16,
there
yes.
in the folder, which can be opened for an example, date example.
Yes. So first thing is that how do we know if the current particular cell is stored as a date or a text? So looking just by looking at this cell will not be able to make sense, or you might feel that what I have seen many beginners making us this common mistake is that they look at the number format. So if I click on this cell, and if they see this number format to be general, they would think that this is not a date. If I click here, if they see that this is a date, then they might think, okay, this is a date. And if you click here it's a date, and so they might think it's a date itself. So these two are date, and this one is not a date. So what I could try to do is click on this date and add one one more day. So of course you will get a value error because A1 was stored as a string, and hence I cannot add 1 to a particular string or text, right? So that's why it's giving me an value error. And if I copy paste the values down, here you can see that I still get this value error, even though the here on the top you can see it is formatted as date. So first of all, going forward, after attending this session, you would know that don't ever rely on this number formatting, because number formatting is just what it says, number format. It does not change the ultimate data structure behind the scene. It will just say that it is formatted as some out of all these values. So never rely on the number formatting to identify whether it is a date or a number or a text. So how would we actually do that? So most if you are just if you want to just identify one single cell, you just click here and then make note of two things. First is that when you are this number format, so here you can see if I convert this particular cell into a number, it is still being recognized at 02/03/2016. If I convert it into a date, it is showing the same one. So irrespective of formatting it as number or date, it is going to remain the same, and hence this is not a date. Let's see this next cell. If I click here you can see if I format it as a number, it will be formatted as 424431, which is right, because this is a date which is internally stored it as a number, and if I format it as a number, it will get formatted here. And so this is actually stored as a date. Let's click on the last one. Here you can see that number and date, it's exactly the same. So this is not a date. So only this was actually stored as date, while others were not stored as date. If you have a very large data set and if you would like to see whether it is a date or not, so you might think that is there an option of is date or something like that? No, we don't have is date option. or formula, but we do have is number formula, because ultimately dates are always number. So we can use this formula is number to identify whether it is a date or not. So here you can see only this the second one was actually a date. Moving on to next one, if we get the data dates data in this particular format, so then how would we be converting into a date? So let's see first example. So if I quickly go here and click on this, here you can see number and the short date is exactly the same. So here you can safely assume that this is not a date, it is just a text containing a date. So it's 306 to 15. So what we need to do is we need to convert it into a date, and for this we will be using the first trick. We will select this cell, click on data, and we will say a text to column, next, remove everything, next, and then we will say that this is stored as convert this cell or this entire column into a date. So I'm just specifying that this is in the date month format and click on finish. And here you can see now it has been converted into a date and I can work with it. And in order to verify that, I can click on this cell and click on this drop down, and here you can see the number and the short date, these two are different, and hence this has been converted into date.
This is critical when you want to see the data from date to date, or want to see Q1, Q2, Q3, want to see a Y2D report, or a year to date, or a quarter to date, or month to date, or period to date report. If the format is not a date, then the analysis becomes very difficult. And again, for analysis, certain file cleaning activities are the must, because you never can expect that the data will come in the format, in the structure that you are going to analyze it with. So it is always the first step to extract the data, to clean the data, and then to analyze the data. So into the process of understanding the data, and first step is to clean the data. And the biggest issue with the data is with regards to date, or with regards to the categorization, or with regards to the structure in which it is available for analysis. Yes, Adarsh, you can continue.
So this is an example of data cleaning, Mr. Mitesh.
Yeah,
Data cleaning for before they do the analysis. Okay.
correct.
Yes. Yes. The next challenge that you could get is that there is some extra spaces between these dates. So in the previous example, we did not have extra spaces. The date was just not recognized by Excel. So let's see if Excel can do a good job when there is extra spaces as well. So here, if I quickly go to data and click on text to columns, we would keep it as delimited, and deselect all the delimiters and click next and say it is a date in this date month year format and click on finish. And here you can see that Excel has automatically removed all the spaces and still attempted to convert it into dates. And here you can see all the dates were converted. Another quick tip, how you will be able to see if all these are converted into date. Of course, one method is to apply the formula and see. Another one is to quickly filter the data and click this drop down and just scroll down. So if it is everything is date, you will get this filter like this, where you will have year on the top and then you will have a drill down into the month and the date. So if it is converted into date, you will get this beautiful drop down. And if I do a Control Z quickly, and if I do a filter here, then here you can see that this is just a text filter that I'm getting. This is not the date filter because this data is not yet recognized as date. Now let us take a very edge case scenario.
The data is uploaded now in your Google Classroom, all the students. You can actually download these file number 16 which is called as date file, and try to follow others if possible. We would recommend that you make notes at this point in time, and then over a period of time, maybe try to work on the data. Of course, you can reach out to us if you are unable to solve the query or the problem later on also. So yeah, so others you can continue.
Yes. Um, in a very rare scenario, if Excel is not able to recognize this as a date, because there are some extra characters, like here you can see I have purposefully added some extra characters, which even my this Calibri font is not able to render it. That's why I'm getting these blocks, extra blocks. So in these cases, most likely Excel might fail, and that's why let me introduce to this good plugin ASAP Utilities, which is available for free. And let me quickly go to the website and show you how you will install this plugin and how you'll be downloading and getting this plugin. So you could quickly do a Google search ASAP Utilities. And this is the link asap-utilities.com, and click on download button here, and click on home and student edition, and click on this file. This will be a very simple installer. Click on next, and that's all. It will install it on your Excel. Of course, this installation will only add it to Excel. You will not have any other programs getting installed. Only this extra ribbon will appear on the top, ASAP Utilities. Let's see how we'll be able to work on this, converting these special these cells which are extra special characters. So I'll just select this data, go to ASAP Utilities, go to numbers and text, and say convert or recognize dates. Okay, yeah. Now I'll need to tell it that how it's the data is there. So I will say that my data is in DD, then it is a dot, mm, then it is a dot, and it is in not YYY format, but it is in the YY format. Okay, so this is how my data is there, and would like it to convert it into DD dash mm dash YYY format, and I'll click on OK. And here purposefully this error was shown that it was not able to do that as well. So you would also face this situation where even even a good utility or any other utility would fail, because there are simply too much of extra characters, and it is not able to recognize this as dates, or it is not able to process that because these are junk extra data. This would most likely happen when you receive this data from a very old ERP system, which is still using some weird character sets. So let's see, how to fix this problem. In this ASAP Utilities, in this text, we have an option of advanced character removal and replace. So what we would do here, let me first select all or none. So here you can see that we have an option of removing all the extra characters. So what I would like to do is remove all the characters except for the numbers. So I will say select all, but remove the numbers, and also exclude the dot, because our date is in the dot, right? Separated by dot. I'll then click on OK, and it then we have a amazing formula called as text formula. Here I can do the exact same thing. So if I want just so I can get this 09 month extracted. If I want the month in 3-digit characters, I can just say MMM. I want everything, I can just say September. Another example that we could do is equal to text, and I can get the date in the like Saturday, Sunday, like in that format, that week name. So I could do text and this week name DDDD like this. So these are the two ways to format the date. One is to use this custom format and enter the values however you like. And another way is to just use this formula, text formula. Be mindful that in using this text formula, you are actually changing the value of that cell itself. Now this is no longer a date. This is just a text. But when you are doing this custom format, this is still a date. Let me give another use case for this. If you have this data and maybe say 1, 2, 20, 21. So you have this maybe 12 months of data, and all this data is just there because you want to preserve the date format. Otherwise, you would have just written Jan, Feb, March, April, May, June, and so on. So in order to keep these formulas for yourself, what you could do is go to number format, click on custom, and just mention MMMM space YY and click on OK. So here you will get this formatting, and still keep the date intact so that you can use the formulas. So that concludes the section on the date. Moving ahead is
If you have any
working
queries at this juncture, please feel free. You can wait
Yes.
for 1 minute. This is in a way a easy topic, but in a way a heavy topic. So if you feel that anything you want to ask, or you have faced any similar issue or situation, feel free to ask, so that we can have an interactive session, and more people can understand out of the your questions.
Right, come on. Invitation to all students. You are welcome to ask questions. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Of course, even though you don't have it right now, you can just post it anytime in the chat section. Yes. And also let me know if the pace of which I'm going is a little bit faster or slower, so I can accordingly adjust the same.
Yeah, I'm not sure others about how familiar they are with Excel. Maybe can you put in the chat box, students, you know, how many of you are familiar? Just say in the chat box you are familiar with Excel or not so familiar. I just want to be sure that are we following or are we lost? Just at least mention that. Be honest about it. I'm quite familiar. Samuel said, okay, that's good. That's good. Jennifer said familiar. Okay. So yeah, I think others. So I think they are to some extent familiar of what you are saying. Maybe what they need to know more, and maybe in some use cases like Mr. Mitesh, like when we are doing auditing, why dates are important. You know, I remember when I was auditing in a bank. I was asked to identify if there are any unusual transactions. So one of the easiest query that I had asked my IT team to find out is there any transfers above 100 million rupiah on a Saturday or on a Sunday? Because on a Saturday, on a Sunday, there is a transfer limit. So he was able to find that there is still such transfers going on at above 100 million, and that's why it indicates that these figures that are put in are potentially not true, because he was able to filter in the date. But now I'm looking at others file. Oh, it's important to understand how dates are crucial. So maybe that kind of examples. Maybe they also need Mr. Mitesh.
Sure.
Yes, and we have this soon coming up on these use cases as well as we move ahead. Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Okay, I'm glad they are familiar, so we can proceed. So feel free to open the files, yeah, guys. I hope you have already opened the files. So try to follow the speed of Mr. Adesh. Yeah. Go ahead.
Even you
So
can tell us if you want it to be a bit slow. We can go slow.
because we had this we aspire as a speaker, I always aspire to provide like a lot of information, so do let me know if I would like to go a little bit slower. Yeah.
Mr. Alan, are you comfortable with the speed, or
Yes.
it's okay? The speed is okay.
Yeah. For me, the speed is okay. So
Okay,
I'm
great.
yeah.
Sure, sure. I think maybe we'll maintain that, Adesh.
So moving ahead, so let's see how we work with a large data set in Excel. So Excel has a hard limit on the number of rows as well as the number of columns. Even though we will hardly be on a day-to-day basis when you are working with our clients, small clients, we will not be reaching these limits. But on a practical aspect, what I have found is that if we have more than 6 lakh rows or maybe 300 columns, that's the practical limit of Excel, where you will start getting crashes and your PC freezing. So if we are near to this limit, so how we can improve our experience? So next a few minutes on that. First of all is that if the data is more than 50,000 cells, and of course this is just an approximation, a ballpark number, so then you should, instead of saving the file as an XLSX, you should convert it into XLSB, which will first of all give us savings in storage space and also increase the speed. And this is as by my experience since last working with more than 8 to 9 years in Excel. This is what I have generally felt and felt the speed.
Yes,
Uh,
and in many banks and financial institutions, and nowadays retail startups, lot of line items you will find going here and there. And even in the ERPs, when you pass one entry, there are more than 30 40 line items that are generated at different places to impact that entry into various modules of the ERP. So coming across more than 3 lakh line item database is becoming very, very common for people in today's world. So yes, so it is very important to understand what is the limitation of Excel and how you can circumvent the limitation but use the benefits of the Excel while doing the data analytics.
Yes. And the another tip would be that instead of using the formulas such as count if, sum if, we better use the pivot formulas, which will help in the faster processing of the data. A quick thing that I would like to share is that how to find duplicates without using the conditional formatting. Moving to the Excel, just a quick one. So if we have these large data, let me just go to the exercise file as well. Maybe the lookup pivot tables 13, if you're following along. Okay, let me just quickly copy this customer information to this new Excel sheet. And here, how we typically identify the duplicates is by clicking on this entire column, going to home and clicking on conditional formatting, and then it will say highlight cells which are duplicate values. Of course, this would work on beautifully on the smaller data set, and this is generally what is recommended as well. But if you are working with a large data set, what will happen once you apply the conditional formatting, and when you go to filter out these values, when you click on this drop down itself, the Excel will simply freeze, because it is going and checking the conditional formatting across the entire big set of data. So in that case, what I would recommend is, first do a sort on the data that you have, then use this formula. If this current cell is equal to the above cell, if current cell is equal to above cell, then you would say true, or you will say false. So here you will get all the data which is duplicate or not, and then you can quickly do a filter on the next cell, where you would say give me quickly true or false. So this is the best way to apply or filter out the duplicate values when using the large data set. Let me another example here. This file I have not added in the exercise file because it's a big file. So this is the actual data set which I had received from the client, which has been sanitized. So I'll be opening this file in a second, but here first I would like to mention is that this file itself is like 150 MB, 147 MB to be exact. What I did as a first step is I just saved it as XLSB file. Nothing, just opening the file and click save as an XLSB. Here you can see that the exact same file is now down to 52 MB, 1/3 reduction in the file size. Let me quickly open this file and give a actual demonstration on how you would be working on this large data set and what are the challenges you will be facing when working on analyzing this data. So now the file is open, and if I would have opened this XLSX file, it would have taken me much longer to open. Since it's an XLSB file, it's relatively very fast to open. So here we have all these data sets, inventory, sales, and everything. But just to show how this data is generally available in our when we receive it from many different sources, what are the peculiarities? This is a practical demonstration. Okay. So first of all, what I would like to share here is that this is a plant. This is data from SAP. So this is a plant in SAP, and this has been codified as 6420 plant. So here you can, if I just hover on this, here I am seeing is warning that this is a number which is stored as text, while this warning is not available on these two cells. So what has happened is while the data was extracted, some cells are entered as text, and while some other cells are entered as numbers. So if we are doing any lookup or this, you will face this issue, and it could be a little bit difficult to understand where the errors are, because when you click on this filter button on the top, you will see that all these numbers and text are seems like everything is working fine. But if you have a keen eye, you could quickly identify this. Why is this 7340 appearing on top while other 7000 series are appearing in the bottom? So if you have a keen eye, you could quickly figure out that, okay, there are some cells which are doing a sorting based on number, and hence it is coming up, while everything else is doing a sorting based on the text. That's the another way to identify the nuances in the data. In order to fix this, what we could quickly do is, if I want to stick it in stick to the file, I'll just do concatenation of these empty strings, and then it will convert everything into a date, everything into a text only. So here you can see everything is converted into text. And how would I then paste it as here itself? I can just do like select this cell and paste as values only. Yeah. So now you can see everything has been stored as text itself, and this problem has been gone. Now all the formulas will work as expected. If you have noticed that what I've used it to convert it into paste as values is one option is to select this data, do copy, and then you click here and let me do that. Copy this cell and click on paste values, and you will click on values. So this pastes this as values. Another quick method to do it is select the entire column, uh, right click on the border of this selection, and when you drag and drop it here you get an option of copy here as values only. Another moving ahead, uh, because we have many things to show here, is that we would have some missing data here. So always uh, go and just have a look at the data by and going down. So if you quickly come here, and if I go down, so you can see that I have almost like 3.5 lakh rows here. So how would I would go about checking the data is I am just using the shortcut here, control up and down. So in order to navigate, you use the hold down the control and then click on the left and right arrow keys, or up and down arrow keys, which will take you to those cells. And so I can just go down by clicking control, and if there are empty cells, it will just identify me, okay, these are the empty cells. So I'm jumping between these data.
Others, a
Next,
quick time check. We are at 12:38. So
yes.
IST,
Yes,
I'm
in
talking.
next 5 minutes, we will be winding up the Excel part and then moving on to the storytelling. Yes.
Mr. Adarsh, there's a question in the chat box.
Okay. Yeah, we have a question. I'll just read out for everyone. Are there any limitation of XLSB file format, or is it just the same compatibility with the XLSX? There are no limitation by using XLSB. Um, what you are storing here, it is in XLS. When we are storing it in XLSB, it is a binary data. So it's best used when we have a larger data set. That's all. Otherwise, there is no extra any limitations or pitfalls of using it.
He wants to know whether the 10 lakh line limitation comes in XLSB or it doesn't come.
Yes, that's still there.
Mitesh, I don't think you're familiar with LEC. Yeah, LEC is 1 lakh is 100,000, is it?
Yeah, 100,000. So it is 1,000,000, or you can say 1 million line items is the limitation.
Yeah. I think they do not know LEC.
Correct. So 1 million line items is a limitation in Excel.
Okay.
In XLSB also same limitation is there. Only thing is the file becomes lighter when you store it in the binary format, and it opens faster, and you can do faster analysis on a file which has more than 300,000 line items. It can be easily analyzed. And if there is a 36,000 line what you call column limitation that is there in Excel, even in XLSB, the same limitation remains. Only thing is, if you save it in XLSB, you can analyze the data faster and the file becomes lighter. Is that answering the question? Yeah. Continue on this.
Yes. Now let's move to uh, showing a few capabilities of Excel. So I had just prepared. Yeah, CSV. So let us think of this way, that you want to aggregate the data that you have been receiving from all your team members, or say suppose across all the months, or some another analysis that you are doing, and you want to aggregate the data. So what I have done here is I have kept all my CSV files in one this particular folder. So uh, and I can run this analysis here. So let me show how I would be doing this. Uh, just to show the end result that we are trying to achieve is that I will be aggregating all the files which are kept in one single folder and bringing it here in one single sheet. That's the end goal that we are trying to achieve. So let me show you how we can do it using the Excel's amazing capabilities of Power Query. We'll click on data, get data,
So
and
this is
then
typically for multiple files we receive from a client with the same format, same structure, but for different periods or different categories and so on. And we want to club all the files together and try to do the analysis. Again, this is part of the ELT, that is extraction, cleaning, and then analysis. So this is again trying to help you understand how you will aggregate the data for the purpose of analysis.
yes. So then we'll click on from folder, and this is important that until now you have been if you have been using Excel, we always would have imported a single file, but maybe this is your first time that you will be referencing a folder. So I will just quickly and click this folder and click open. And what it will do is it will read all the structures in that folder. Here you can see, and then I can have an option of combining it. So I will say combine and transform the data. So it will open up another window for me, and this is called as a Power Query window. I'll click on OK, and it will just do that. Yeah, open it another. Yeah.
For example, you are receiving bank statements of for 6 months in separate files, and you want to make a one single file out of it. You can use Power Query to aggregate the data.
And here you can see that without doing any activities, we were just able to get this data here. So it has already identified what is the source file for us, the date, the department, product, and sales. So everything is here with us. So I could quickly say close and load to, and I can load it to this sheet that is there. Here, this data is here available with me now. Deleting the extra sheet. Now the beauty of this Power Query is that you will be able to uh, do this exact same steps without any effort now. Since once this Power Query has been created, what I can do is in the CSV folder, I can maybe paste another year's data. So now I have added the data of 22. So let's see what will happen. So currently we have about 74 rows. I'll just do a right click and click on refresh. And here you can see it has just added the extra rows of 2022 here. So now I have a total row count of 111. So that's the power of using the Power Query, pun intended, that we can write a query once, and just when we click on refresh, all this would happen automatically. And this was just a tip of the iceberg of Power Queries. This Power Queries has been used for Power BI as well, which we'll be covering it in the next session in just a few minutes. We'll be starting on that. Just to demonstrate quickly on the another one, I could just do a reference this, and I could do a group by year. And maybe I will say that group by department, and I want to calculate the total sales, and I will say sum sales. Okay, this is done. And of course, if you would like to keep the year here inside this, I will just say add grouping and I will click this source name and okay. So I will still get that in each of these files, what is the total there. And then I can just say load to, and maybe I'll just put it in this existing sheet on the right hand side, this data. And this is also now Power Query. I can just click on refresh. That's all. So this is an amazing tool. And if you'd like to make your career into these finance or this is a great tool to have it in your pocket and learn. So
Power
that's
Query is Excel. It is not a separate tool. One needs to just enable some functionalities in Excel and start using Power Query. There was something called as MS Query before, which is been now replaced by Power Query. And there is something called as Power Pivot, which has actually now become a higher level pivot than the normal pivot. So Power Query and Power Pivot are recently added in 2017-18 in Excel, and they are adding up to the capability of Excel to complete next level from the analysis standpoint. And all who want to make career in data analytics definitely need to understand Power Query and Power Pivot. Maybe we will not cover Power Pivot today, but we will try to cover it in Power BI, which is a combination of Power Pivot and Power Query.
And just to conclude now, last few tips. Here we have, if you are using storing this files, Excel files on your OneDrive, we have inbuilt version history into Excel. So you can just click on the name and it will show this version history button. If you click on it, it will show you all the open, all the edits that you made across multiple months or even years. And it will show you that version history. This is a very beautiful feature that I've been using it for quite a long time, and it really saves my day when I want to go back to the previous version. A question that I generally get after completing this Excel session is that how do I learn Excel, or how do I master the Excel? So it's a continuous process, and these are 3 ways which can help you. Of course, there's a free, amazing big library of videos on YouTube. You can subscribe to few of the popular Excel channels, and it will give you on the latest tips and tricks, and it will teach you on a daily basis, those ones. Then, of course, if you want to have a structured way of learning, then there are definitely online courses. And another great way to learn is by attending a seminar. Like today, you are attending this session, where the speakers, the main advantage of learning via seminars is the speakers might have used Excel in very different way, as you would not have expected anyone to use it in that way. So that is also a great way to learn. And if you ask me what's the best way to learn, then I would say that whenever you are facing a problem, or when you are stuck somewhere, take a pause, go to the Google and just quickly search out what is the best way to achieve it, instead of manually doing it. And that way you will also remember it, and it will stay with you for a longer time. If you just watch any YouTube videos, if you just have a look at the online courses, it will increase your knowledge, but it will not help you to retain that knowledge for a longer time. If you get stuck, you find out the solution. That way, that knowledge will stuck with you and be with you for the rest of your life. If you are looking for some reference material, I would suggest my friend's website, ExcelJet, by David Bruns. It has an amazing website for the reference. If you want to reference like Excel shortcuts or Excel formula guide, so this is the best way to learn that. And to increase the productivity, if you have like working on very big Excel sheets on a day in day out later on, or currently as well, then I would suggest that use a dual monitor setup where you have a single PC, but you hook up 2 monitors to it. So this is my setup at my cabin. This is my cabin where I have this my laptop and another screen which is connected here. And this is just a PC configuration that I would like to suggest if you're working with large data set. So that concludes the Excel topic, and we could take up all the questions relating to Excel now before moving ahead.
All right, so invitations to all participants. If you do have any questions for Mr. Aders regarding the Excel, you're welcome to ask questions now. Yeah. Come on, everyone. So maybe Mr. Aders, just to ask questions as well for the students, yeah, because main participants here today is our students from year 4 and year 3. So they will be graduating very soon. Like, is this like very much being used in the company, and how does the stories goes regarding the usage of Excel? Maybe you can give like an insight to our students.
Yeah, so if you join any business operations or finance or accounting or taxation, even sales, marketing, Excel will be something which will be there with you in the corporate world. You will never be a day where you did not touch Excel files, or you have not entered data, you have not reviewed your data on Excel. So this is something which will be like a bread and butter, or just like a back of your hand thing, that critical and essential it will be.
And we are going to talk about some stories which the charts can do and tell in Excel in the next session. And of course, we will also talk about Power BI. I think all these will be definitely useful in the next gen organizations where these people will be engaged after they graduate. And we have been doing finance for and tax for last 20 years, and there is no day when we didn't learn something new in Excel, and there is no day when we didn't touch upon Excel. So yeah, definitely it is very, very critical to understand and learn Excel, and keep on experimenting and innovating in Excel all the time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Aders and Mr. Mites. Come on, students, any questions maybe related to Excel that you guys want to ask? So everything that have been given, yeah, all the tips and tricks, shortcut things that Mr. Aders have already shared with us today, so obviously very, very beneficial, especially when you are working with a big data, yeah, will be very good. So, you know, you can just quickly finish all your work, yeah, especially, you know, if you're working in a very big company. Questions, anyone?
I guess not. We'll move ahead.
Okay, so I guess, Mr. Aders, we can move ahead to the second agenda, the Power BI.
Yeah. So before Mitesh starts on the actual Power BI and amazing charting and amazing visualizations, quick one on the data part. So whenever we have multiple data sets, we would be joining the data sets. So I would just like to have a clear cut understanding for all the students to know is what do I mean by join and what do I mean by concatenation. So when we join two tables, so say suppose I have the sales data and I am joining the customer master to it. So that's what is the join means, that I am bringing a data from, I am using some common columns. Like for example, in my sales, I would have the customer number, customer code, and I'm joining this with my customer master, and I'm bringing other details of this customer, maybe the address or the country or the city into my sales data in order to maybe put up the sales data on a map. So for that, we will be basically be joining the data. And from an Excel perspective, think of it as a VLOOKUP when we do joining of this data. Another word to understand is the concatenation. When we have the data which is in same data I have in multiple locations, then I will be appending the data or concatenating the data. And when I'm concatenating the data, if I have like different columns here on the left hand side in the blue, you can see that I have the product data, and then I have an attribute 1 and attribute 2. So if I concatenate data like this, so it will result in the products where I will have attribute 1 which is there for A, and attribute 2 there will be N. So here when we are doing concatenation, we would like to keep all the columns exact, so that this is how the concatenation would look like when I have the same column names. So 1, 2, 3, 4 ABC, and here you can see like this perfectly the data would be there. Concatenation. Over to you, Nidesh, and then we will be coming back on enhancing the charts, and we'll be discussing here.
So thanks, Adarsh. This was very useful session. We will jump directly into Power BI now without wasting any time, because we have already 10-12 minutes late than the regular schedule. Mehul, can you put up your screen on Power BI? I have Mehul, my colleague, who will show us some demonstrations on the Power BI. Power BI is basically something which is above the Excel, basically visualizing the data that we saw in Excel in neat and clean charts. So when you look at data analytics, I would take it into 3 pieces. Piece number 1 is with regards to the, just give me 1 second. Can you put my video on the highlight, Mr. Tyas? Yes, perfect. Thank you. So Power BI is basically something which creates visualizations on the top of any data set. When you look at data analytics, you look at 3 very important angles. The first angle is the angle of extracting the data into a requisite format, cleaning the data sets wherein there are certain issues with the formatting, with the structure, with the modeling, etc. in the data set. That is second step. The third step is to create and establish relationship between different data set and join the data set into one what you call logical piece. And the third and the fourth step is to visualize the data. Here is a tool which will do 2 very important steps. The first step is to create and build relationships, and second is to visualize the data in the way the management or the layman can quickly understand and make sense out of it. This is a sample CFO's dashboard, which will talk about the cash flow, the debt to equity, the net working capital, the interest coverage, the return on equity, which are the top line items that the CFO needs to check. It is like a KPI, that is key performance indicators of the CFO, that is the chief financial officer of a company. You all who are going to graduate from here are going to be CFOs of companies over a period of time. So it is very important for you to understand that this is something that you will have to build for your CFO to start with, and over a period of time expect from your juniors to build for you and analyze on regular basis as a CFO of a company. So variable and fixed cost percentage to sales, return on investments, EBITDA to turnover, and so on are various aspects of a CFO's dashboard. Now, how it comes to live, we have also built certain other dashboards. This is a dummy data which we have created for an industry cluster in Belgaum, in Karnataka, just for them to represent as to how a CFO should look at his dashboard. Then you can see various other aspects of the dashboard, like we have covered the other areas like what you call what if analysis. That is, if the turnover increases, price increases, what will happen to the PNL, how the PNL will change with the increase. This we called is a simulator or a finance simulator as to what will change if the price changes, what will change if the cost increases, what will change, and so on. So this is something that we have tried to make it. This is the analysis of the balance sheet, top line, bottom line calculations. This is a PNL account, how the PNL would look at various stages, and what will be the change in the PNL over a period of time. You can also click on ratio analysis and see the key ratios that a company should track over a period of time. You can see years here. You can filter them according to the years with click of a button. You can click on various types of industries. You can click on various other parameters like debt inventory to turnover, inventory turnover ratio, current ratio, return on investments, tangible net worths, EBITDA to turnover, and you can make sense of numbers in a click of a button, filter them on the basis of different filters. These are completely interactive charts, and the interaction happens with the help of anyone who is a layman. Here is a cash flow wherein what is happening to your finance issuing, what is happening to your investing, what is happening to your operating cash flow over a period of past 3 years, what is the positive negative cash that is getting generated by the company. Here is a quick summary of information on the cash flow in a different manner. You can see this is a chart which explains the geographical location of sales. It explains the total sales. It explains the previous year sales. It gives the idea of overall versus contractual sales. It gives idea of defects that the customer has found in the products while they were sold. It gives the count of employee by muster, because this is a foundry industry. So specific industry requirement of understanding number of employees versus the productivity and the sales. Here is a group sales and profit trend of the company. These are certain cards, charts, graphs, all put together for quick review of the management. This is something with the managements of multinationals would expect from you as a CFO to look at when you prepare your presentations or board slide decks, wherein you will say how the gross sale trend is looking like, what is the value addition that is happening over a period of time, what is changing customer wise, what is changing subcontractor wise, and so on. So a lot of analysis is possible just on click of a button. You can do May, June, March, year wise, year to month wise, compare between two periods. You can compare between 2 years. You can compare between 2 months of the same year, and so on. So amazing presentation possibilities with Power BI. This is an extension of Microsoft Excel. Yes, anyone has any comments?
Mr. Mitesh, this is such a brilliant way of presenting info. What I was wondering is, does BI operate on live real-time data? That's my first question. And then the second question is with regard to the design. Maybe the students should know that it's something that they can customize and design as per the requirements of the company. Because what I've heard that BI allows entrepreneurs now to be on the move, and on the mobile they can check their status of the company on the go based on real-time data. Is that true or not? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just using the top-down approach wherein I am showing what is the output, and then I will discuss about the process, wherein I will try to answer both your questions. The question with regards to the real-time data and the question with regards to how the designing will happen with regards to the Power BI. Both these questions I will take up in the process side. I am trying to give an overview of how the charts will look. That is more like a top-down approach.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. Thank
Okay, so let's jump into the process. I am sure everyone is eager, like Manish, to understand what is the process of generating these reports from Power BI. Number one, the Power BI tool is available for everyone who is having Microsoft 365 license free of cost. So even if you are a student license, no problem, you can download Power BI and try it out. It is free for you to use and try it out, and definitely you can develop these kind of charts yourself. It is not a tough job at all. I will show you how you can do it. Okay, now let's get into the inputs. So here you can see three tabs. We are on the topmost tab, which is of the charts and graphs. Below that there is a tab which is showing inputs, and below that there is a tab which is showing the relationships which are built between the inputs. So you can see the corner left side three tabs getting highlighted there in your screen. Just click on the input tab. You can see all the tables that we have input in this sheet to generate the output. We will just click on the input. Yes, amazing. So can you see on your right hand side corner so many tables that are input in the Power BI for doing the analysis? Now these tables are standalone data sets that are extracted from your ERP system, your Excel sheets, your HRMS. Your HRMS means HR management system or human resource management system, your CRM, that is customer relationship management system, and so on. So, and of course your production system, your costing system, and so on. So in many cases the data is disintegrated, and in many cases it is integrated, but it comes into various tables into the BI system, that is currently Power BI. Now there are a lot of alternate BI systems like Tableau, like Google Analytics, you have Superset, you have Zoho Analytics, and so on. So a lot of these analytical tools are available, but because of our comfort with Excel, we are very used to with Excel, and that's why we like Power BI because it gives Excel-like interface. So you can see a lot of tables here which are input from various data sets into this system. Now trying to answer Manish's question, the input can happen through various data sets. Just click on input the data, and you can see the number of data sets that are allowed to input the data from. Get data, there is a call data. You can see how many data sets can this input come from. It can come from CSV, it can come from Excel, JSON, it can come from PDF, it can come from SQL server, it can come from SAP, it can come from Facebook, it can come from Twitter, it can come from Instagram, it can come from Microsoft Azure, it can come from Oracle, it can come from Salesforce, and any other system you can think of. So huge possibility of inputting the data. Now again, coming to the question, Manish, that can that be a live data? The answer is yes. This can do a live refresh of the data, but one has to be sure that the linkage of the data has happened properly and there is a mapping that has happened properly with the data set. so that the live data can keep on refreshing in the database and you can see the information on go while you are traveling. So this is a possibility. Of course, the best and the easiest one is CSV and Excel, in which you can try input the data and try to play with the Power BI. These are the number of tables. I think around 60-70 tables are there in this data set, even more than that. Now the question is how the customer wise sales can happen if in the sales register the customer name is not appearing and there is something called as customer code that is appearing, and how you will link the customer code to the customer master and generate the customer wise sales. So here comes something called as setting up relationships in Power BI, which is very critical piece and the USP of the Power BI. This can also be now done with Power Query or MS Query, but Power BI is faster and efficient way. You can see these small white pieces of things appearing in the canvas. These are all tables with all their fields, and this is how we have connected them in a systematic manner between each other to logically develop the visuals which are required to be drawn out of this data set. So this is called as relationship. There can be one-to-one, there can be one-to-many relationships, there can be relationships between multiple tables at the same time. There can be transaction and master tables which can be linked together. So you can create a cobweb of relationships between the data sets, and it is very simple. Like you want to establish the relationship between table A and table B, you can just with a click of a button remove or add the relationship. So yeah, so once this relationship is established, your data is ready for visualization. That is the third step of the development in Power BI. Actually, Power BI can be done by a layman. It is not required to work with a very high class coding knowledge. It is just simple relationships that you need to establish between tables to make sense out of the data. So there, as I gave you an example, see man, these are the relationships. You can look at it in the table format now, wherein we are able to see which table is linked to which table and in which field the linkage is happening. So you can see clearly the different tables getting connected to different fields, like amount table with regards to balance sheet amount and accounts with the balance sheet details. So like chart of account getting linked to the balance sheet structure. So similarly, lot of linkages can be established to make sense out of the data. Now let's go to the third stage. Am I very fast, or should I wait for 1 minute for everyone to ask any questions if they have before I move to the visualization part, which we already looked at, but we'll now look at how the visualization can be built. Can we use SQL in Power BI? Answer is yes, we can use SQL in Power BI. Again, see get data. In get data, there is an option of SQL. We'll go, just click on get data. See, there is an option of SQL server. Hello.
Yeah.
So
Uh,
you can actually build the relation. You can actually set up the database with the SQL server.
yeah, Mr.
Yeah.
Mitesh, can I ask
Oh,
the students? Can you hear me, Mr. Mitesh?
yeah. I am able to hear you.
Okay. No, I wanted to ask the students because you mentioned that you can extract data from Facebook, from Instagram. I think let's get the students to say in the chat box what kind of information they think that they can extract from the Facebook and Instagram, and what kind of relationship that they can they think they can build with our the system to make some decisions, you know. So I want the students to put in the chat box what do you think, what kind of information you can extract from Facebook and Instagram, and also in the view that, you know, Facebook and Instagram also has some data protection issue. So how will you handle that? You know, let's have a 2 or 3 minutes of
Yeah,
discussion.
sure.
Go ahead. Can somebody share that? Let's hear it from uh, Veronica. Veronica, can you share what kind of information you think we can get from FB and Instagram, which we can build relationships with other ERPs in the system? You can unmute yourself.
Can you give me a moment to think? I'm still not sure.
Okay, because I thought students like you are very familiar with FB and Instagram and what kind of info you can gather from there. Okay. While you are thinking, let's talk to other students. Pa Alan, maybe you want to pick some students.
You're welcome to pick one, Pak. Maybe boys, Pak, because the boys. are very
Boys.
quiet.
Yes. Where was the student last time who was also already working ya last time? Siapa namanya Pak ya? Last session.
The fourth year students pretty much
Yes.
is already on the internship session lah. Like
Okay.
Abel, Jackie, Jeremy.
Jeremy, are you here? Ada nggak Jeremy? Nggak ada ya.
Should be here, Pak.
Should be here ya.
Jeremy. Jika.
What about David? David Vincent? Can you unmute yourself and share your thoughts? Because Mr. Mitesh just shared a very important feature of the BI with regard to ability to build relationships between variables. So, David, can you share your thoughts about what kind of information we can gather from social media? Nah, ini nih, kalau ada beberapa yang off video, nanti please know that those who are active and those who are owning their video, there will be certificates, yeah. Those who are not participating, that we will not be able to give you the certificate. So please participate. David, are you there?
Sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Maybe it depends on people preference, sir.
People preference, yeah. So meaning you want to gather information about people preference from the post, yeah. Okay. What else?
Yeah, maybe from the post, what they post in Instagram, yeah, something like that, sir.
Okay. Anything else? David?
Or from the ad that they click, or from the web that they search.
Okay. Mr.
Or
Mitesh?
the personal data in the public.
Okay, understand. So, Mr. Mitesh, are we able to link that kind of data that David mentioned?
Yes. We can link number of likes. Say, for example, someone is liking some page. You can
Mhm.
find out in your customer database whether such customer exists, or you want such customer to come in your CRM as a prospect. uh,
Mm.
and see what is his age profile, what is his liking profile, what does he choose to use on his daily basis, which other pages does he like. For example, Cadbury is taking decision about how much production should it make during a festive season, basis the social media impact of its ads, and it links directly back to the production planning module as to what the production should be in case so many likes come. So this is becoming a big trend globally, where people are
Okay.
using the data of social media to take a lot of decisions on their production, their planning, and also their prospecting and sales.
Right, right. But Mr. Mitesh, this data is something that we need to summarize from our exploration, or is it something that we can import directly from these platforms?
We can import directly, but we need to summarize with the help of thoughtful linkages and cleaning of data, because the name in the Facebook will be different, the name in our database may be different.
Oh,
So there may be unique factor finding activity that we need to do to find out whether the customers are unique or not, or the product that they are talking about and the product that exists in our ERP is unique or not. Otherwise, there can be misinterpretation of data.
got it, got it. Understand. Any other questions, guys, or on this particular part before Mr. Mitesh goes?
Like the worry on the corona is increasing, and the insurance companies are putting up products around corona, and the more the worry, the higher the price of the insurance product that they are selling.
Oh, really? That really happens, yeah?
Yeah, so they keep
Okay.
on taking the decision whether it is a second wave, what is the reaction of people on the social media about the COVID, and do a trend analysis of the rich people who are worried about COVID and try to figure out the pricing for the insurance product.
Yeah, yeah. I heard that AirAsia does a lot of these data analytics and revenue management. But so if what I heard is that if you are searching a lot about certain traveling destinations, they analyze those search and then sort of increase prices. Yeah, is that true, Mr. Mitesh?
Yeah,
Or
100%. It is true. Even when you search clear trip 3 times for Indo Jakarta to Singapore, the rate is different. And when someone else searches incognito, the rate is different. So,
okay.
so they have gone to
That's
that extent. And
wow.
the Facebook is actually fixing something called as pixel in the website. And when someone searches my website, say for example, I am AirAsia, immediately when he goes back to the Facebook, he will see the ads for travel with AirAsia. And you will be surprised why this is happening, because there is a code that is there in the website which finds out which IP you are using and searching the AirAsia website, and it will link back to the Facebook ads. So immediately we will see the Facebook ad coming up and saying buy the ticket from AirAsia and you will get 20% discount.
Wow, that's amazing.
You are searching Amazon portal for a particular product, say a mobile phone, an iPhone, immediately go back to your Facebook page or your Instagram, you will see a ad popping up for iPhone and telling you that iPhone is available at a cheaper rate, or there is a drop down in the price, or there is a discount available, and that is pop up only for you, not for anyone else, because they
Right.
know that you are searching on Instagram. So it is
That's
so,
very,
so
very targeted, yeah. Targeted advertising, yeah.
this is called as back referencing or back targeting. So they are
Mm.
basically back targeting the customers who are prospecting or who are window shopping.
Mm.
So they
Okay.
exactly know what you are window shopping when. and they come back and tell you that this is available to you at a discount.
Wow, that's amazing. There's a question, Mr. Mitesh, from Jonathan. Therefore, is Cognito mode already safe enough, sir?
Yeah, incognito is a mode in which you can search, wherein the IP address is not shared with the website and they don't know who is searching. So many times it is beneficial for finding out rates of air tickets or discounts and so on, because they know that you have searched this thing for 20 times before. They would definitely not give you any discount and try to maximize the benefit from you. But if you are going incognito, they don't know who is searching, and maybe you can get a better rate.
All right. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? Theo, I just saw you, Theo.
Actually, I would like to ask as well. Well, as I already heard for incognito, but then as I try to open incognito mode, there are like is the message. However, you are not invisible, in which there are like some points in the incognito mode. So like maybe like what I can see is my internet service provider may still know what is my activity on the internet, and also like the schools or maybe workplaces might also know as well. So actually, what is that really keep us away from people knowing what our activity in internet?
Yeah, to some extent, because in the incognito mode, it is agnostic of the history that you have searched. It is agnostic of the cookies that are saved on your Google Chrome while you are searching. It is agnostic of the IP address. It is agnostic of the sign-in ID that you have taken for Google Chrome while you are searching, and so on. So I know this is a bit of a out of the, not a topic which we want to discuss, but generally, yes, incognito mode saves you from a lot of clutter.
Right.
Yes. Should we continue?
Yes, Mr. Mitesh,
Just,
go ahead.
just a time check. We are already 1 hour before the closure of the class. So
That's right. We have 1
10
hour to go.
Yeah, 10 minutes we will do the session on Power BI and then jump into Python.
Sure.
Because I
Thank
want
you.
to touch upon programming languages which can ease and no code programming, basically for finance graduates who can use Python to query a data set without learning programming. So yeah, we'll touch base upon that, because when we are looking at these Power BI things, we can also find out something called as DEX codes, which are the codes which are written inside Power BI on a particular data set. For example, in this data set, there is a ratio analysis that we have done, and you can find out that this ratio analysis doesn't happen on direct numbers. You have to divide something with something, or you have to multiply something with something. And here are the DEX codes. You can see on your right hand side the cursor is going, wherein it is showing total profit before tax, total net sales. These are the queries that we have written. You can see on the top of the cursor bar that is shining there, wherein we can see what is net sales is equal to something sum of accounts, amount in lakhs, again Indian terminology, but amounts in 100,000s, head ID. This is a huge query that we write. This is called as DEX. This is basically a calculation which is sitting on the top of the data set and giving us replies on the basis of the filter that we attach to the data set, and tell us what is the profit before tax, what is percentage of net sales, what is percentage of YOY, that is year on year profit, what is variable and fixed cost as a percentage of sales. All these are calculated fields and they happen with the help of DEX codes. Now, writing DEX codes has got a lot of limitations in Power BI. So when we look at the Power BI, one of the limitations is cleaning the data. The second limitation is writing lot of calculations on the fly in the way they can be analyzed by Power BI. So here comes something called as DEX codes, which we need to understand. These are the formulae that we write on the tables to do the calculations of various factors, like we are doing debtors plus inventory calculation here, wherein we want to find out what are the debtor days, what are the inventory days, and so on, to identify whether the working capital is efficiently utilized by an organization. So this is something called as DEX code that is written in Power BI. Now the point is, these DEX codes become more and more complicated as you proceed, and as and when you want more and more calculations. For example, you want calculation of correlation, you want calculation of regression, you want calculation of trends, you want calculation of percentages, you want calculations on various other aspects, and create various models out of the data sets that are available to you. So when it comes to doing calculations on the fly, it is DEX codes which help. But there is something called as Python, where we can move on all the calculations and bring direct tables into Power BI and use the tables directly from Python to Power BI and bridge it internally to make it easier for the programmer to write the program and then just do visualization on Power BI. So, and of course, there is one more angle to it. When the DEX codes take a lot of time to run on the Power BI directly, the Python can write very, very light programming queries on the database and allows us to generate simple calculated tables, or you can say CSV files, which can be imported or synced in the Power BI, and the reports can be generated. One more angle of Power BI that I would want to quickly highlight here is how to generate these graphs and charts. It is very, very simple. Mehul, can you create one additional what you call page? And see, this is something which we can quickly demonstrate to them as to how to write a chart in Power BI. Now we are writing a chart on say Power BI, wherein we are saying that what is the year-wise PBIT, that is profit before interest and tax, right? So we are putting the period into the legend, or we are saying this is the turnover and this is the profit before tax. Now we bring time into the picture, which is year, or you can say a period. So let's put the time into the picture. We call the time as detail into the legend, and we can see that we can filter the data into different timelines to just quickly see which year we want to check the data for. So basically this is 2022. If we want to see the data for any year, just click of a button, you can see the data for any year in the same chart. Yeah, so this is interactive filter that we can introduce into the chart immediately in 1 second. So turnover upon PBIT is something that we are seeing. Now we want to see it in a bar. So just click on the bar and you can change the model from a pie to a bar. Now what is the profit against the total sales? So you can see PBIT to sales in a bar format. You can now make it from bar to donut in 1 second. So you can make a donut instead of a bar, just to quickly see the chart in a different way. You can also make an area chart, wherein you can see what is the area that is covered by a particular time frame. We will just take area chart, that square. Yes. Just select one period and you can see this by area. What is the profit and what is the turnover? Very, very simple. So you can actually develop the entire dashboard by using these various charts and bringing them together. Now you can recolor this chart with the help of Platter. You can see here, Mehul is trying to make the chart more beautiful. He's adding PBIT, turnover, labels. He's adding colors to the chart. He's adding gradients to the chart. He's adding data labels to the chart. He's adding category to the chart. So you can play around with the chart as and how you want to play around. And you can build multiple charts in one page, and you can call it as a CEO dashboard or a CFO dashboard. And yes, this is really simple, but one needs to develop a bit of it. Like you can change the title of the chart. You can align the title to something else, test 1, 2, 3, and so on. You can create a warp and word wrap. You can increase the text font. So you imagine, and there is a possibility of actually formatting and structuring charts in the Power BI. So we can do a full-fledged course on Power BI, 2-3 days it will take to actually understand the entire thing. Yes, so I think at this juncture, we will want to stop discussing Power BI and go to something called as coding for Power BI or coding for visualization or coding for analytics. And we will take you through something called as Python and how large data sets can be analyzed with the help of Python very easily, and how non-coding finance people can learn coding. Actually, myself and others both are chartered accountants. We don't have any educational formal learning of programming in our academics, but because of our liking and because of our interest, we over a period of time picked up programming for analytical purposes. So I will again hand over to Adarsh and we'll start the looking at Python and how we can tell stories with charts, and how we can use Python to develop the data sets which are relevant for charts. Yes, Adarsh.
Yes, welcome back. So before we actually jump into the actual Python, I had a few more slides planned on the how to visualize the data and how to tell the story. So we'll quickly complete those and then move on to Python.
Yeah, and you can spotlight others instead of my video.
Okay. Screen visible?
Yes, Adarsh.
Yes.
My shared.
Yes, Mr.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So say suppose if we have summarized the data, like we want to say show sales in 6 countries. So one of the most primitive way would be to just tabulate the data and show it to the user. But of course, this doesn't give the insight. It doesn't tell a story. It's just the data. What we want to do is we want to tell a story from the data. We want to communicate what exactly the data is telling us. Because if a user is just looking at this, he won't be able to understand what we are trying to communicate. Let's see how we can improve upon storytelling. First, at the very basic is that we could create a quick bar chart, which clearly what we can see is that United States is the topmost sales contribution, and second is Canada. So this is a good insights to have as a just first go. How we can further improve is that we can sort the data, and now everything is coming in that descending order, starting with United States, Canada, France. So I can better rank the countries by using the chart. Next is that instead of showing this entire big in that full amount column, we can put it in the millions. So this is a better axis to have. Even better would be that if we can add a descriptive non-US sales is 33% of the total. So that the users of this chart will be able to understand what is the contribution of non-US sales. We can even eliminate the axis altogether and directly shift to the labels where we have mentioned on the top the label saying that this is everything is in US dollar millions. Another way to show these contribution of United States sales is by using the pie chart. Your important takeaway would be that instead of so say suppose if we look at our data, so United States is the first one if we have sorted the data, but it would look very weird if just the pie chart is used. We also need to tweak angle of the first slice so that it looks like a Pac-Man, so it gives a better visualization. So always adjust this angle of the first slice to give that exact insight to that user. And at the last, if we have, say suppose currently we only have 6 countries, but say suppose if we had say 10 or 15, so then in pie chart, if anything falls below 4 to 5 degree, then it becomes very difficult to see. And hence if we have more number of categories to show in the pie chart, we shift to area chart. So in this area chart, we can accommodate more as well as still keeping all the details intact. So here you can see that if high level of precision is required in the numbers, then we can shift to area chart and still show that in labels. Here you can see United States, I can still continue to show the entire amount. So here the point that I'm trying to make is that instead of whenever you are showcasing any numbers to any person, instead of using tables, always supplement it, complement it with the charts. And charts can also be made much more useful by adding more extra information. So let's take another example where instead of using charts, I am using the tables, but how I can improve this table itself. So first of all is that this is how you would actually be start to present it. On the top slide, you would definitely mention what is the insight that we are getting. So here I am mentioning on the top, the ISD spend from 5 cities is approximately 84% of the total office voice expenses. So this is the insight that I am trying to showcase from this table in a PPT. So here what could be better be done is that adding a total of percentage. So then it will help users to identify, okay, Pune contributes to 40%, like this. We could even add this total percentage on the each columns to identify that ISD is about 95% of the total office expenses. Further, we can improve this table by reducing the opacity of this font color, or maybe giving a font color a gray tone, and then highlighting the user's attention by using this 1-2 pointers and even this dotted box, which says that, okay, these are the 5 cities and we want users to focus only on this, like this. And here we can even say that not just 5, but even if we just take first 3, then it contributes to 73%. Like that could be the another insight that we would like to give to the user. Further, if you want, we can give this insight like this, saying that rest all is 27% and top 3 is 73%. Just another way of presenting this information. If you would like to use pop-ups interface or annotation interface, then this also works very good. But in this case, if you are using this method of presentation, then avoid on the top side mentioning that exact same thing. So here you can see that until now we were mentioning on the tops of the slide what insight we would like to say. But in this presentation, then we would like to directly bring the user's attention to the annotation, and hence skip mentioning the same information on the top slide. Two important things which I feel goes a long way when we are using tables is that we use this highlighter option, where I use a dotted box to help narrow the choices. And if I want to bring users to a single recommendation, like this is the cell that you should focus, or this is how I derive at the option that I want the users to choose to. Then this works the best. And another one is that if I don't want the user to select one single cell, then I can use this transparent white box overlaid on the other columns where I don't want the user to focus upon. And this can be really helpful and focus the user's eyes on the data that we want them to see. So let's over the past 6 years at EY, I have I have collected few amazing charts that I have come across, and how they have used these techniques to further improve the storytelling experience. This is a chart where they have what good thing I liked about this chart is that they have used the legends for the clustering. Here on the top you can see, right, like incremental workforce by state. So I am just focusing upon the subset of that, and everything else is classified rest of India. Otherwise we would have like so many big number of list of this content. So we are just using the top 10 items. Next one, what I have seen here, many people doing is that highlighting giving it a different color. This red color is a different color, showing this call outs, using this call outs to give the focus and the descending order. Next one, a good technique in the charts is that if you are comparing the values, but these values are in different numbers. So say suppose if I'm doing currency comparison, so dollar would be some another starting at different number, another currency would be starting at different number. So what we could do is convert everything into a single base of 100 and then do the comparison. Then only it will be telling the real story. So normalizing the data and converting into a single base, that's the most important part. And here also small observation is that using the long and short form. So if I would have just used April 17, a few users may have been confused, like, okay, is it that this is 17th of April? But since I have used December 2016 as my starting point and just use the full form of the year, now the user will never have a confusion. They would always say that it is July 2017 and not 17th of July. So using the long form at least once and then shifting to the short form of the year. Donut charts are very much helpful if you want to do a comparison between a very small list of items, as well as it takes lesser amount of space. Another thing I liked about this chart is using this color contrast, like yellow, black, and almost a very dark gray, and then blue, and then using this legend. And you'll also see that if we are using the quotation as a chart heading, have the directors endorse the integrated reports. So what will this help is that it will help the users to identify that or get that answer from this chart. So this is also a good marketing strategy used by many of these brands, is that instead of telling something, ask the question, and the users will basically find that answer looking at the advertisement. So that will stay with the users for longer duration. So the same strategy can be used to communicate the important insights by asking a question and then helping the users to find that answer, and that will stay with the user for a longer time. Next is that if you want to show divergence with the forecast, so this kind of charts are very helpful. Very important to point to note here is that, see, in this green one we are showing the average, and in the next one what we are showing is that crude oil's actual numbers. um, so that is being shown in a different dotted color. So this shows that what is the deviation from the average and other this. Another point to note is that the main content here is the margins, which are shown here: 33%, 41, and 47, 45. So here, how we are making it as a main thing that we want to show is we have added legends or labels to all of those margins. But when we are showing these lines, we are only adding these legends where it is required. Like it is starting with 1600, hence we have added the legend here. Where is the deviation point? $87, and hence we are like, this is the important one. This is an amazing example, very simple chart, but an amazing example is that we, instead of putting this entire axis, we have cut the axis. So instead of showing like from 0 to 6.4, what would have happened is that we would have seen these two lines, but it would have been very stick together, and we would not have come to good understanding of what is exactly happening, the trend. So we have cut the axis so that we have more area to see the exact change in the pattern. And another one is the legend. Instead of just mentioning United States in the lighter blue and Europe in the darker blue, I have even added a map to it. So that gives a visual cue to which area I'm just referring to. Another example of axis being broken to show the impact. This can be a good way to represent your data, which we call as a Harvey balls. And you might think that, okay, how do I insert these Harvey balls? So a quick tip, because I've used this in many of my slides, and I think this can be a great way to present your data. Even a status, progress, or these kind of information can be presented with the Harvey balls. So what we do is we click on insert symbol, and then we select a font as Arial Unicode MS, and then we say subset as geometric shapes, and then we can select this Harvey balls. And then this is just as a font, so we can do any color, highlight, everything that we can do with these Harvey balls. At the last one is the embedding charts into one another. So here in this chart, the context is that we want to show the decreasing trend here in the flows. So I have this years bar chart, a stacked bar chart, but what I'm not able to see it just by looking at the year is that when did this downturn happen, and what is that exact moment. So what I've done is I have added a embedded chart on the right hand side, which is at quarter level. Here you can see Q1, Q2, Q3, and given this a dotted border, which will help the users visually to understand that this is an explosion of this one single year. And the user will be able to identify, okay, from Q3 onwards, there is a downfall, and hence there is a overall reduced number in this particular year. So to conclude this section and then moving to Python, whenever you are creating any charts, first of all, check and focus on the accuracy of the data. Ensure the numbers are correct, spellings are correct, and use all the complete components, like whether the units are required to be shown, labels are required to be shown, dates are being interpreted as correct dates, accuracy basically. Next one is to keep the data comparable. So we want to compare apples to apples and not oranges to apples. Talking about the simplicity is to ensure that the users don't get confused with too much of information being shown on a single chart. So keep it simple, ensure that it is readable, and uses a general color palette. And last is to keep it relevant. If you're showing any chart, it has to aid you as a speaker or as a storyteller to convey your point, and hence use only the charts where it is relevant. Okay, moving to Python, and then I'll jump it back here to the PPT. So
Time
before
check. It is now half an hour left for the session.
Yeah.
Others. And
Yes.
if you have any queries at this point, students, please feel free to ask us before we move to Python on charts or on Power BI or anything that has been covered in the last 2.5 hours.
Yes. So you can just post your questions here in the chat, or maybe you can unmute yourself and even ask those as well for the follow-up question. Okay. So first of all, as Mitesh has rightly pointed out, that don't think that okay, Python is a programming language. You will need to code, or you will need to learn programming language in order to get the most out of it. That's not true. And Python is considered as a first learning language. So you need not know any other programming language, or you need not know any other concepts of programming to get started with Python. And Python has been written in such a way that even you could write simple, like you will feel writing a very simple Excel English statements, and you'll be able to understand how this entire thing is working. How to get it started? First of all, I am using this software called as VS Code, and that's the interface that you are looking for. It is a free tool from Microsoft, which is called as VS Code. So you can just quickly let me fire up the browser and show. So you can go to this VS Code website. You can just code.visualstudio.com and download it for your Windows build. Next, you can go to a Microsoft Store. Okay, that's weird. Okay, yeah, it's back. And I can just search py Python, and it will show me which version of Python to install, and I can just click on the Python version from the Microsoft Store and directly install. That how easy it is. You don't even need to visit any website. Python like is available in the Windows Store itself. So install the latest version which is available as of now. 3.9 is the latest version. So simply click on install on my devices, and it will do all the configuration and everything which is required.
Same
That's
is
a very
Mac also.
Sorry.
Mac.
My Python is available for every operating system, Linux, Mac, everyone. I am just showing Windows Store approach or Microsoft Store approach, because this will configure it as well for the operating system. So we can just get started in just few clicks.
Okay.
Once you have these two things installed, all that you need to do is go to open this VS Code, select open a particular folder, and start writing the files. So there are two ways to start using Python. One basic approach is that you create Python files. So that will be .py files. Like for Excel, we have .xlsx files, right? So for Python, we have .py files. But in order to get started, what I would recommend is using the Jupyter Notebook So that files end with IPYBN, this extension. So all that you need to do is click here, and you will see create new blank notebook. And here you can start writing Python code. And you can get started with Python in just like less than 1 or 2 days. That simple language it is, and that's all you need to know and uh, get started with data analytics. And in Python, for the data analytics, we have this amazing package called as Pandas, which helps us to work with tables. So let's see how it how this first let me show how this Jupyter notebook works. So here we have multiple cells. So think of this as steps that Python is doing one after the another. Okay, I'll say run all. So here you can see it has run this cell one, and it has run the cell 2, so hence it is 2. And I can of course go on running other cells as well. And if I want what is the value of all these cells, I can just click on variables here, and it will show me all the values. So here you can see, and I can just define another values. I will say D is equal to A into B, and I will just run it, and here you can see what is the value of D. So here you can see that even though I'm using a programming language to do all these small calculations, but I have a little bit of Excel like interface where I can see all these values. I can look at the variables, what is the values which are going on, which it is a better experience. Next, let's see how this Pandas works. So Pandas has a option of data frames, and which will look like a table. So if I run this, I'll just click run all. So here you can see that now I have a table which I have defined this. Don't focus on this definition. Let's see how this data looks like in this expression. So I can click here in the data viewer, and it will load this it in the memory. Here again I get this beautiful Excel like interface, so I can do anything or quickly filter. So if I want to just search for 2, and here I am just looking for train. So see here you can see that even though I'm doing a programming, but I get this amazing development experience by using VS Code and Jupyter Notebook. The most important point to note over here is that if you are just getting started with data analytics, don't jump onto Python. First, stick to Excel, have a hang of the data in Excel, how it is done in Excel. Then if you want to start your journey with visualizations, then learn Power Query, Power BI that we have covered in today's session. And then once you feel confident about using those tools, move to Pandas, move to Python, and start learning and using it. In practical sense, if you ask, in 90% of the cases, you will always be using Excel and all its capabilities, wonderful capabilities for your day-to-day analytical usage, tracking, and all those things. But if you are working with a very large data where Excel will simply be not be powerful enough, then we use Python. And it's not that if you have say suppose learned Power BI, and now you think that okay, then how will I be using Power BI for my visualizations? So then what you could do is you could use Python as your first step for your all your ETL activities, where you would ingest the data into Python. You will do all the complex calculations, your KPI calculations and everything, and then export the data back into Excel or the CSV files, which will then be imported into Power BI for the storytelling and visualizations. So you can mix and match all the tools which are available at your disposal, and whatever you feel comfortable and faster at doing things. Because ultimately, when are joining any industry, when you're working with any company, when you're working with clients, what's most important is being able to deliver it faster, uh, and that's the most important one. So having all these tools at your disposal will ultimately help you to become a better person at solving the problems. At the last, let me quickly show how we'll be working with CSV files and this. Let me just clear all the output. So here we can see that all I have done is I have just asked Python to use pandas library, or think of it as a extension. And then I'm asking pandas to read the CSV. So here you can see how easy it is to import the CSV. Just one single line of code, and you can even read it like an English language, like pd.read CSV, and just gave it a file name. So this is the sales CSV that we have asked it to read. Then let us just run this single cell and see what it is reading. So here you can see it is reading the date, department, product, sales, and everything. Okay. Then if I want to see what are the types it has identified, so I can say or let's stick to this example, then we can come to the other complexities. So say suppose if you want to just now sort it by sales. So here you can see that I'm just doing the table, the variable name that I have used, dot sort values, by which columns I want to sort, and whether I want to do it in ascending or a descending way. So here you can see all the sales are now being sorted. Further, if I want to just select maybe say just two columns, so I can just select two columns, sales and department. And believe me, if you have like even 300 400 megabyte of data, like maybe 20 lakh 20 million rows, or even more than that, still Python would be very fast, very efficient in processing all your data um, than any of the current available tools. So that's the power of Python for really working with very large data set. So here you can just quickly select sales and department. The point of this exercise is to show you that it's not very difficult to learn. Once you get hang of it, it's super simple. And then I can just do group by max just by like this. So I got for Avengers, what is the maximum sales which have been achieved, and Fast and Furious, Harry Potter, X-Men. And while we are doing all these activities, our original data set has not changed. So if I see my original data set, that has remained same. So that's the another beauty which you would understand if you start using it, that whatever things that we are doing is we are doing it only temporary output, and all my original data is still there with me if I want to still access it. And at the last, if I want to save it back to Excel or a CSV file, I can just call to Excel or to CSV on that variable or that table, and it will output to me in an Excel. So if I run this, here you can see it has generated this Excel file, and that I can quickly open and see. So that's all. That simple, easy to use. So anyone has any queries on setting this up, or how to get started, or anything? Yes, please ask.
So, others, can you explain more about the Pandas library? Because is it part of the VB, or you need a separate tool or thing to be downloaded?
No, all that we need to do is just have this first line to tell Python that we are using this Pandas library. That's all. No need for installation or anything. Just this first line. That's all.
Okay, so it is already part of the thing.
Sorry.
It is part of the Python VB, right?
It's not part of the Python programming language. Think of it as an extension, and hence we are adding this first line. Or think of this adding this first line as a statement to Python that I want to use this as an extension.
Okay.
And let me show you how to get started. Like if you are really keen on investing in this one. So this is the let me just copy this link and paste it here in the chat section. Like this is the 10 minutes to pandas. In just 10 minutes, how we'll be able to learn and master pandas. And this is a very good way to start working with pandas. All that you need to do is just spend 1 or 2 days just reading on to this amazing on the left hand side, the introduction to data structure, introduction to this. And even if you don't use pandas on a regular basis, but at least looking through this will help you understand that how the large data set, what are the complexities, and what all things you need to keep in mind. So all those things will be made clear. This is an amazing documentation which has been written by world's like top analyst, top data visualizer analyzers, and this is a great read even if you don't use it ultimately. And of course, I would definitely recommend that if you want to make a career in data analytics, this is something which you should know.
Yes.
So,
can you
moving
throw
ahead,
some light on? Yes. Yes, you have something to cover here.
yes, yes, on big data and yeah. So when we say big data, what we mean by that is, first of all, it will have 4 characteristics which makes any data big data, or classify, like we call it as a separate term. So first of all is the volume. Of course, that goes with the name itself. It's a big volume, right? And statistical as per statistics, 70% of the world's data that we have currently as of now stored, it was generated in last 3 years alone. So here you can see that the uh, immense amount of data that we are generating on a day-to-day basis. It just it could be your photos, your videos, or it could be the websites that you visit, the history that is being collected by the browser, the Google Analytics that captures which user has visited which website, which after which page, how much time the user has spent on that particular app after making the maybe adding the cart. When we talk about e-commerce, how much time the user kept that item in the cart and then ultimately made the payment for that. All those every interaction is generating huge volume of data. So that's why we say that that's the most important characteristic, that the data has exponentially grown out. Next is the velocity, the speed at which this data is being collected. That has also increased tremendously. Talking about the variety of information, I just gave an examples, the sensors and videos, songs, social media, chatter, everything, all is data which is generated. And here important thing to note is that most of the data which is used by the organization is the data which is generated outside the organization. We are no longer talking about the data which is pertaining to the like sales, purchase, or my cash flow. We are now talking about the data which is generated outside the organization. Like when the customer comes to my website, how is the customer, how much time it is spending, right? That is outside the organization, and that is too much variety of information that you are getting in. But most important feature that I would like to discuss here is the uncertainty of the data. This was a survey which was conducted by McKinsey 2 years back, where they say that one out of 3 leaders say that they don't trust the information that they use to make decisions. This is something a feature that we would not like to have in our data, right? We would like to have most reliable data which is presented to the decision makers. But this is the truth of the big data that we are currently living in, where the accuracy and the reliability of the data is always a question mark. And hence there will always be a lot of effort in this big data to ensure reliability and getting that confidence on that data. And talking from an analytics perspective, we have 4 types of analytics. The charts, a few of the charts that we have looked at were typically on the descriptive analytics. Like if you want to convey something, what is already there, so we are just presenting it in a better way. Next, if you look at a evolution, then it will be the predictive analytics, where we are doing demand forecasting, where we are seeing that where my sales trend would be. Maybe we are using machine learning algorithms to predict what would my sales be. Specifically, say suppose if I am in the restaurant business and I sell hot plate items to my customers, then what will be the impact of the weather be on my sales today? So should I be purchasing more raw materials in order to meet that demand, or should I be reducing my purchase to save on the inventory? So all those area is called as the predictive analytics. But the most amazing area that the industry is moving towards is called as the prescriptive analytics, where we say that we don't just do the analytics, but we also optimize and identify which is that decision point. So this is where the most of the effort and investment currently lies in the industry, and the organizations are spending a lot of money in prescriptive analytics. And everything here that we just talked about, descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive analytics, that everything is clubbed together, and everything is called as a forensic analytics. And that's where the word forensic auditors or forensic professionals that comes from. So that concludes my presentation. Thanks. If you have any queries, we'll be taking that up.
Perfect. So
I guess we have one question in the chat box. I'll read out for everyone. Is it actually possible, simple and cheap, to build a company's own analytics system, not using the third-party apps to ensure privacy and accuracy? So I would first of all question on the my question would be that whenever we are using any third-party tool, we should see if the data is being transferred to the third party or not. Only then there will be a question of privacy. So say suppose if I'm using Python, so everything is happening on my own PC. So there will never be a question of privacy, because data is never being transferred from my PC to any Python's creator or anywhere else. The same is true even for Power BI. So if I'm using Power BI desktop, all my data is lying with me itself, right? Like think of this as a question, how weird the question would be if you say that you won't use Excel because you feel that this data may be synced somewhere else. When we create some Excel files on my desktop or in my PC, the file stays in my PC, right? And there is never a question of a privacy risk, because data is never going anywhere. So if you are using any third-party tools which are installed on your PC and making all these things, there's no question of privacy. And talking about building your own tools, so I will definitely not think that it is practically possible even for a Fortune 500 company to create these tools on their own and use it.
Adarsh, can you stop your screen sharing so that everyone can see the full screen? Yes. Anyone else has any questions? We have another 8 minutes to go. 7 minutes to go. Regarding your career in data analytics, or regarding job possibilities in data analytics, or other tools that are useful for visualization or ETL, anything that comes in your mind with regards to understanding or experimenting or building your careers in this this new domain.
Come on, students, you're welcome to give questions to Mr. Adarsh and Mr. Mitesh, yeah, especially for you fourth-year students, because especially this webinar, the things that Mr. Adarsh and Mr. Mitesh have already explained regarding the usage of Excel, Power BI, and Python is to prepare you after this, especially some of you have already done internship, yeah. Questions not only maybe on that part only, you can also ask the other part, like what Mr. Mitesh stated, yeah, possible data analytics career somewhat in the future. Come on. Any questions? Abel, maybe. Do you have any questions, Abel?
Yeah, it's just a quick question. Since we often hear that applications such as Tableau used for data visualization, I'm wondering, will there be a chance if these kinds of applications will be in the curriculum of maybe future universities? Because currently there's no such class that teach this kind of programs, right?
Right. So you are pretty much asking about university curriculums, how to incorporate Tableau and such.
Because right now those programs are not taught anywhere, right? Unless you learn from a certain course or the company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Alan, if I may answer that question.
Yes, please.
You know, so one of the Abel, thank you for that question. So you know, one of the things that I don't know if Joshua is here today. Is Joshua in the meeting? Joshua?
Unfortunately not. He's
okay. So one of the reasons we tied up with Petra was was because Petra IBEX students are doing the ACCA curriculum, and within the ACCA curriculum, you guys are doing the embedded the bachelor's degree program, the first 9 modules of ACCA, and subsequent to that, you have the remaining 4 papers to be completed in ACCA, and that's where LSAF comes in to fill up the equation with Petra Christian University. Now in ACCA content that is embedded in IBEC, data analytics is showing your is considered as one of your employability skills, you know, and it is embedded not as a separate module like what you said, but it is embedded in each of those modules. Yeah. So when you talk about financial management, I know that what you are maybe you're not realizing that when you are practicing those data responses in your question, you are being trained to ask that what are the questions I need to ask, like, you know, understanding what has happened, why it has happened, in terms of your diagnostic analysis. Creating those relationships that Mr. Mitesh mentioned, that there is a relationship between those variables. So it is more, these kind of skills should be learned in an embedded model in each of your models rather than a separate course. However, what you have experienced in the past 2 sessions with me, the last session and today's session is the nature is introductory. So when me and Mr. Joshua discussed about this, we said that let's have an introductory session, and then we will be working together to have a more structured program, not only about the ACCA part, but also these technical skills which employers really expect you to have. Like I said in my last session, when I was being requested by Prudential Indonesia, there was a very specific question that do you have ACCA graduates who are able to handle BI? Because we want to use BI for all our business meetings and presentations. So I know within these 3 hours, I'm sure it is just to understand the output, but how to do it, what buttons to press. I'm sure many of you feel, wow, this is so much and it's too much to, but our objective was to actually just to trigger you. Yes, I need to learn this to appreciate that this is important. And then when later Petra and LSF creates the structured program for you, you will sign up for those programs. So you will have build up your skills and competencies as you learn in the journey. Yeah, so it will be there. This program will be there. The idea was to have an introductory session in this. So this is the beginning, Abel.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Manis. Yes, you want to add something, Mr. Mitesh?
No, I think Manish has covered everything.
Okay.
Yes, and I think Mitesh and others will be our key partners, Mr. Alan, for the future programs that we will be running in Petra.
Yes.
So
Okay.
this is a good introduction of Mr. Mitesh and others as part of our team.
Okay. All right. So with that in mind, Mr. Manis, Mr. Mitesh, Mr. Adras, and all the participants, I guess the time has already up for today. With that being said, I want to extend my thank you for LSAF Indonesia, especially Mr. Manis, Mr. Mitesh, and Mr. Adars as the speaker for these 2 workshops. Between the collaboration of Petra IBEC and LSAF Indonesia. Thank you very much for all participants. I want to invite every one of you to maybe give a virtual applause for all our 3 speakers.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Petra.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Alan, should we have a picture together?
Yes, that's definitely great. Edsel or Edward, can you please help me? Everyone else? Please open your video so we can do a quick photo session. Yeah, Edsel or Edward, who will be helping.